Supermarkets are magical places. And think about it. Entire aisles of subtle varieties of items like cereal, personal care products, things like that. An entire forest of paper products. Produce beyond things I can even identify. Meats of all kinds, you got them whole, sliced, half, diced, mashed, all wrapped in plastic. Pretty amazing. Everything you can possibly need really is in the supermarket. And it's there for you all the time. You cannot start a celebration without a trip to the supermarket, right? Got Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, 4th of July, birthdays, weddings, anniversaries, any kind of party. It all starts with the supermarket. I guess I really didn't realize how important supermarkets were until we moved to North Carolina in the mountains of Appalachia. My wife and I and our little son Anthony had just my wife had just finished nursing school, and the only job she could find was at a little hospital near Boone, North Carolina. So we loaded up the U-Haul and we moved down there, and we moved into a little log cabin that was perched on the side of a mountain. North Carolina is when you come from Massachusetts or you come from Cape Cod, it's a very different place, right? So there's a little bit of culture shock when you get there. So we went to Grandfather Mountain, we saw Boone, we saw a lot of pickup trucks, we saw a lot of gun racks, we saw lots of trees and things like that. We had sweet tea, we had the RC Cola, NASCAR, country music, all of that kind of stuff was going on. And we were starting to get a little bit of homesick. So we're looking around trying to find a little piece of home, and then we found it. We found the Winn-Dixie supermarket. It was amazing. It was brand new, it was gleaming, it was shiny, it was filled with all the stuff that we really liked, and we got so excited why we just had to shop. So we ran inside and plopped Anthony in the little cart, and he was all happy and smiling, and we set off to shop. And the next thing I know, Anthony looks up and he says, "Dad," and he points up at a big rack of balloons that were right by the entrance of the supermarket. Well, he was so happy and so excited that we just had to get him a balloon. So we tied the balloon onto the wagon, and he was about as happy as a human being can possibly be. And then we went on to do the rest of our shopping. So the first month or so in the summertime, we set off on a lot of adventures. So Anthony and I did a little hiking and some exploring. We saw all the sights and things that were around there, and starting to get used to being in the South. Got used to eating ham biscuits and grits and things like that. We also, at some point, as the fall started to come along, we had to take him to the doctor for a little checkup, and he was having a little ear infection. And two things became quickly apparent. The first was that he hadn't gained weight in 3 months. And the second was that a year and a half old, he was still not walking. So the doctor started a whole series of tests, starting out with real easy things. And we started watching what he was eating, and we took him to the mall for walking lessons. So he could walk a little bit, but he had to hold your finger, and he could go along, and he would sort of shuffle. And if you let go, he'd lose his balance and fall down. The walking lessons worked really well until we got to the pet shop and he saw the puppies, and then all the walking stopped. So as the fall progressed, we started testing him for more and more serious things. We started looking at his liver. We started looking at his heart. All of those things kept coming back negative, and we knew the next level of things was going to be more serious. So at some point, his eyes started to cross, and then they would uncross. And then you look at him later, and his eyes would be crossed again. So we started a whole series of tests and looking into that. After Christmas, it was suggested that he might have a brain tumor. So a brain tumor is still something that's fixable, potentially. After that, we're running into things that are not fixable. Treatable maybe, but not fixable. So every time we get bad news like that, I would find myself sitting in the parking lot at the Winn-Dixie in the evening, pretending to go get us something to eat for dinner. And really what I was doing was just trying to let go of the things that we were losing. When we came to the mountains, Anthony was still the little boy that was going to grow up and have friends, go to school. Now, I don't know. So it's a process of letting go of things. and adjusting and trying to get used to what the new reality might be. So he might need a special diet, and then he'd be all right. He might need a wheelchair, and he'd be all right. He might need some kind of treatment, he might need some kind of surgery, and hopefully he'd be all right. Brain tumor, it's tough. It's still fixable potentially. It's hard to say it, but at some point, I almost hope he had a brain tumor, because it was still fixable. So, shortly after that, we discovered that the good news was he didn't have the brain tumor. The bad news was he didn't have the brain tumor. And the next thing they thought it was cystic fibrosis, which is treatable but not fixable. Right? At that, we'd had enough. We needed to get back to family and friends. So we moved back to Massachusetts. Anthony's second birthday, we had narrowed down his condition to one of a handful of untreatable, incurable terminal disorders. We also discovered that my mother had stage 4 ovarian cancer. At 2.5, we diagnosed Anthony with metachromatic leukodystrophy. It's a genetic disorder of your nervous system. What happens is your nervous system starts to dissolve, and you become paralyzed, and you go blind, and there's dementia, and then eventually you die. Children with metachromatic leukodystrophy only live to 2 to 4 years total. He was already 2.5. My mother's condition also was worsening, so we ended up moving in with her and my father to be her hospice care. On the eve of Anthony's 3rd birthday, he looked out the window at the stars and he told me, "Nana, go home that way." And on his 3rd birthday, she passed. Now, did he really understand what was happening? I don't know. But in some ways, I think he understood much deeper and much more real than the rest of us. Because for the next 3 months, he would see her in the corner of rooms, and he would wave to her, and he would talk to her, and he would laugh, and he would tell us what she was saying. So,
Gotta wonder.
at 3.5, Anthony was on hospice himself. He spent most of his days in a little red wagon that we had turned into a bed. His nights, he would cry and scream sometimes as his nervous system was dissolving. He'd often stop breathing, but he still had moments of joy. And one of his great joys was his new great big brother, Samuel. At Christmas that year, Anthony lost the ability to speak. And every night we said good night and goodbye. At 4, Anthony weighed 14 pounds. At 5, he had a new sister, which he found really entertaining, Madison. And he started to stabilize a little bit, and he even started to put on a little bit of weight. At 6, we were able to buy our own house, and that stability, I think, helped him. And he did stabilize. His condition stopped deteriorating. At 7, he was still holding fast, and he was actually enrolled in a school. They brought tutors to the house so that he would have school. By the time he was 8, we were getting kind of cocky, and we thought we should go on a vacation. We should go to North Carolina. So we put all the kids in the van and we drove to North Carolina. And we did all the fun stuff that we wanted to do. So we went to Grandfather Mountain, and we went to Boone, and we went to Tweetsie Railroad, which is a Wild West theme park that they built in the 50s with an actual steam engine, and all the cultural sensitivity that the 50s had. And we rode the steam train, and we shot cat guns at bank robbers and Indians. And we had a great time. And Anthony enjoyed almost all of it. He was laughing frequently. And at the end, for myself, I needed to go back to the Winn-Dixie. So, the rest of the family humored me. We went to Winn-Dixie, and as we're going through the automatic glass doors, the years really started to melt away. It was just the way I remembered it. And even the balloons, just the way, maybe even the same balloons. And came through there, and for that moment, I was just with Anthony, and he was a year old, and he was still a little boy that was going to grow up and have friends and go to school. And then I looked at him, and we gave him his balloon, and we tied it to his wagon, and his face just lit up, and it was just a moment of pure joy on his face. And I had come to Winn-Dixie to find the past, and I had found it, and I was holding it. And I was remembering all of that. And then I looked at him, and I was thinking, if I'm holding too tightly to the past, I might be missing those moments of joy with my son. And all those moments are precious. So I put the past back on the shelf, and we started heading for the exit, with Sam and Maddie pulling the wagon, as they often did. So, that's the magic of the supermarket. Anthony would live for another 7 years. He was the oldest child known to have what he has. He would get another sister, who also brought him joy, Antonia. And he would learn to communicate with assistive technology. He would be homeschooled for the whole time. He would get through Cub Scouts and Weeblos, earn his Arrow of Light, and become a Boy Scout. And every year we would go back to North Carolina, although not the Winn-Dixie, but we did everything else, especially Tootsie Railroad. And you know, his life was always tenuous, often filled with pain. There was always moments of joy. And now, 12 years later, it's those little moments of joy that I hold on to. And this is a painting I did of us from one of our trips to North Carolina. So, that's my story about the Super Bowl.